The full moon in Cancer on Tuesday, December 26th looks super nice and soothing. It feels like a long, warm hug. This is the last lunation of 2023, and it makes some lovely aspects to Saturn and Jupiter, uniting optimism with realism, helping us build better, more supportive relationships, release old family karma, and reach our goals with positivity and persistence those planets represent. Let's take a closer look and break it down for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, and predictive readings. If you like my work, if you enjoy my content, please support me by leaving a like or a comment, subscribing, and pressing that notification bell. It really helps show my channel to more people, help me access a larger audience, so thank you for that. You also have the option of showing your appreciation by saying thank you and buying me a coffee. Before we dive in, a couple of announcements. I'm currently running a 2024 year ahead reading special where you can get your year ahead reading, the in-person one, and save $20, so you can save $40 by buying a recorded reading in the shop section of my website. Check out the links and the coupon codes down below. In the shop section of my website, you can also find all of the amazing products that I create with love for you and love for myself, because all of my products first start with the desire to improve my own life. So my 2024 planner can help you maximize the year to come. It has 225 pages filled with astrological insights, lunar guides, journaling prompts, information about the best times to get married, to start your business, and so much more insights that can be super helpful for you in 2024. On my website, you can also find my candles and oils. For example, this is my Moon in Cancer oil. The candle has been sold out, so you can still pick up an oil. And this one is a blend of chamomile, clary sage, rose, and jojoba oils. And as this was created with the moon waxing, growing in Cancer, this has the power to improve your sleep, to boost immunity, to boost your fertility and emotional well-being. The moon in Cancer is the moon in rulership, and she is very strong and capable of making our lives more gentle and more supportive, and our relationships more supportive. And you can also check out my Moonlit Trinity oil. Similar story, the candle I'm out of, but the oils are still here. And both of these, Moon in Cancer is the moon in rulership. Moonlit Trinity has the moon exalted in Taurus conjunct Venus. So this is also lovely for building romantic relationships as they capture the energy of the moon. So visit my website for that, and let's talk about this full moon. So it happens on Tuesday, December 26th at 7:32 p.m. Eastern at 4 degrees 57 minutes of Cancer. So basically 5 degrees Cancer. You will feel it the strongest if you have planets in the cardinal signs, which is Aries, Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn, between approximately 1 or 2 degrees and 8 degrees. Because then the full moon will be making aspects like conjunction, opposition, or square to your natal planets, and you can look at the nature of the planet and the houses the planet rules to know what this would be about more. For example, if you are an Aries rising with your Venus in Aries, let's say 6 degrees, and Venus rules your house of relationships, right? Not only you're getting a full moon in Cancer, which is your natal house of home and family, it's also aspecting your natal Venus, the ruler of your house of money, second house, and the ruler of your house of relationships. So you can see culminations in either of those placements, or in either of those houses, or in all of them. So here we are, full moon is the ripening. It's the completion of a cycle, right? We plant the seeds with a new moon. We had a new moon in Cancer on July 17th, 2023. So take a look back at what was happening, what were you doing, what were you starting. Cancer is a very family-oriented sign. It likes to build comforting relationships. It likes to nurture its passions. So just in general, you can think about relationships, comforts, passions, anything that requires this like attentive care that Cancer is capable of. And of course, listen for your horoscope as I go through each sign to see what house exactly was activated for you. But we are closing a chapter that started in mid-July, and that is significant because part of your life is transforming, and something that you have been working on is either blooming and bringing rewards or asking you to pivot and readjust. I really like this full moon. It's the moon in her own sign, right? Moon in Cancer. I love moon in Cancer in general. When we get those transits, it's perfect for resting. It's perfect for relaxing and enjoying yourself. And so the moon in her own sign we're likely to feel emotional, right? But it's kind of good emotions. And if I would urge you, if you're feeling the feelings, let them flow through you. If you feel like crying, let yourself cry. If you feel like baking, let yourself bake, If you feel like staying cozy and not going outside and just spending time with your partner, do that. Choose ways to choose whatever soothes your heart. You got to remember that the full moon is the opposition, right? It's always the energy of two opposites that we're holding in place. And people who are born on the full moon, they are actually living it every day, where they can be more understanding of other people, just in general, more sort of accepting of opposite energies. So when we get the full moon by transit, we are invited to hold two seemingly different storylines and not fight for one or the other, but instead try to find balance, right? I have a friend, she's a Scorpio sun, Taurus moon. And so as a Scorpio sun, she's very intense and very passionate and very sort of focused, right? But her Taurus moon shows up in a sense that she can also enjoy the simpler things in life. And sometimes she can just appreciate her beautiful, cozy bed, for example, right? And not sort of, I guess I think she's a good union of both. So here you're invited to not only be the rational Capricorn, because we are in Capricorn season at this point, and we're being grounded and traditional and practical. We're being that like father, boss, manager type people. But we're also invited to feel the feelings and express our emotions and accept the warm and soft hearts that we have. So some other things that can pop up around this time are questions around family, questions of your sense of belonging, matters related to real estate, home, right? Cancer is a very home and family oriented sign. For some, of course, there's always Cancers who are not really into family or home or babies, right? But then the question is like, what is like a home to you? What is like a child to you, right? So then you are perhaps rethinking those matters. There is a nice sextile to Jupiter in Taurus and trine to Saturn in Pisces. Like I said in the introduction to this video, we have the union of optimism and realism. The union of faith. Jupiter is just faith in things getting better. And Saturn is the awareness that you gotta put the work in to get things to be better. So it's sort of helping us be balanced, right? There is a fine print type, there is sort of a warning here, because around the same time we have Mars and Mercury conjoining and squaring Neptune at around 23-25 degrees Sagittarius and Pisces. So if you're someone, let's say you don't have any planets between 1 and 8 degrees cardinal signs, Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, and Taurus. But you do have strong planets between 20 and 28 degrees mutable signs, which is Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, and Sagittarius. For you, this full moon can be more irritating. Not gonna lie, because you're most likely going to feel the Mars-Mercury conjunction and square to Neptune more. So perhaps this is an invitation for you to deal with irritation in a more emotionally mature way, right? This could be an opportunity to handle frustration in a healthy, caring, productive way. Another interesting, worth mentioning thing that's happening around the same time is that Chiron goes direct. And Chiron going direct is very healing, very, there's an opportunity to see how you stand in your own way, to see self-defeating tendencies, to see your own wounds, and to be able to attend to them. So I I'm excited for this full moon for sure. You know, it's fresh from Christmas, Christmas Day on the 25th if you're celebrating, where we are, you know, there's of course possibilities of hanging with family around this time, and here we go, family matters coming up, popping up. So stay patient, be kind, and try to look for ways to be kind towards yourself and maybe release something, right? Like it's a full moon. Are you holding Cancer? The shadow side of Cancer is like holding on to pain or holding on to something that's outdated, but keeping it close to heart because it's just, you know, I remember when I was first studying astrology, being taught that Cancer can build a nest in dysfunction just as much as it can build a nest in like a comfortable and cozy place, where the choice is to keep darker negative feelings just because you've grown too familiar with them. So my advice to you here is do not hold on to negative feelings. Do not see them as part of your identity. It might be easier to let them go. It might be better for you and your psyche to set them free. So let's take a look at all 12 rising signs and talk about this full moon through the lens of your sign. I work with rising signs. I still get asked why almost on every video, because rising sign is the starting point of your chart and it determines where the transits fall, versus your sun or your moon can be in any given house, right? And then the transits will be different for you. So rising sign is the most accurate horoscope, but you're welcome to listen to your sun or your moon if you feel like those resonate with you the most. I'm not going to discourage you from that. So if you are an Aries rising, there's a full moon in your 4th house, and it sextiles Jupiter in the 2nd and it trines Saturn in the 12th. So just the full moon in the 4th can bring changes, completion, and a turn of events in the home, family, real estate matters, living situation matters, right? So take a look back at June, July, and see what was happening. Were you starting a process, right? Like maybe you started looking for a new home. Maybe you started building a home. Specifically, we did have a new moon on July 17th, so mid-July. What was happening in your life? The full moon brings completion to that. So if you've been building, renovating, looking for a home, you may find that, right? You may experience changes around family, around living situation. The fact that there is a sextile to Jupiter in the 2nd house and a trine to Saturn in the 12th could literally be, this could be a very financially important full moon, right? I could see some of you completing a payment on the home, maybe finishing up paying off your mortgage. I could see you investing into a home, making some kind of big decisions around that theme. Maybe even receiving gifts from family, receiving some kind of payment, an important payment if you've been waiting for that. That's a possibility, and please let me know down below if this is resonating. Another thing that 2nd and the 12th house point me towards, together with the 4th, is questions of self-worth. Questions of self-defeating tendencies and old family beliefs, right? Because in the 4th house, we're looking at things we have inherited. We're looking at the wounds, the childhood ideas, the lack of love that maybe we've experienced as children. And the fact that it trines Saturn in the 12th house, something from your blind spot can be coming front and center. Something can get illuminated for you. And then that sextile to Jupiter in the 2nd house is almost like an exclamation point saying you're worth love, you're worth financial abundance, you're worth success, right? You can also be realizing things about family karma. You can also be coming in closer contact with gifts you have and sort of hidden passions you have, maybe feeling more aware, because the full moon in the 4th house can also be about finding more comfort with who you are and where you stand and where you're going, almost like being comfortable with whichever steps of the journey you're at, right? Being kind with yourself. Could be very emotional, right? Could be very much like lots of feelings about the past, about childhood, just sort of reminiscing on it. So wrap yourself in a warm blanket, surround yourself with people you love, and be kind to yourself. And let me know down below how this resonates. What was happening, what was starting in your life in mid-July. For Taurus risings, there's a full moon in the 3rd house, sextiling Jupiter in the 1st, trining Saturn in the 11th. So full moon in the 3rd is a completion of a chapter that started in mid-July when we had a new moon in Cancer in your sector of communication, writing, skills and hobbies, relationships with siblings, relationships with neighbors, your everyday life, how you handle things, how you move about your day, how you express yourself, and things you say or things you believe in, right? The sextile to Jupiter in the 1st and the trine to Saturn in the 11th very much feels like you're building your community. And this could be small. This could be a community with your sibling where you're starting a project together, right? Maybe you're starting a podcast together. Or it could be larger. Maybe with the full moon in the 3rd house, you're getting ready to go official with your business. You're getting ready to present your new role to the community, right? The trine to Saturn in the 11th is quite significant and supportive, right? You are becoming the authority figure in the collective. And I think you are figuring out what is and what is not worth investing into. With Jupiter being in your 1st house from May 2023, and you have about 6 months more, right, until late May 2024, you are embracing a different side of yourself, or you are starting a new chapter of growth, right? And for many of you, this can potentially be about teaching, about empowering, about even writing maybe, or being this person who, through being the best version of themselves, through being the most generous and kind and uplifting version of themselves, helps the community. So I feel like the full moon here could be some kind of completion around your knowledge, around your business, around your, even just making changes to your everyday life so that you have more access to other people, so that you have better relationships, better friendships, better opportunities is likely. And please, lovely Taurus risings, let me know how this resonates down below. If you are a Gemini rising, there's a full moon in your 2nd house and a sextile to Jupiter in the 12th and in a trine to Saturn in the 10th. Could you be getting over some kind of long wait or completing some kind of long financial wait, right? The trine to Saturn in the 10th. So first of all, the full moon in the 2nd house could be, 2nd house is the place of money. It's also the place of values. So we're talking about money, and there's this trine to Saturn in the 10th house. You could be getting some kind of long-awaited payment that's coming from work, something that you've been trying to figure out. It could be payment. It could be like a sense of recognition, a sense of appreciation, maybe some kind of questions surrounding work that were up in the air that are now becoming more clear. The sextile to Jupiter in the 12th is also suggestive of like letting go of something, of finding light in the darkness, of, sort of seeing light in the confusing situation, because Jupiter being in your 12th house, I think on some level throughout the 2nd half of 2023 and the 1st half of 2024 is like teaching you to be okay with the lack of control, teaching you to be okay with the lack of knowledge, and teaching you to trust, right? So there is an invitation here to learn how to trust. And that's where the 2nd half of the 2nd house comes in, or the 2nd half of the meaning of this house comes in. And 2nd house is also your values. It's your, whatever you define yourself as, whatever you see as important, right? So self-worth, your values, your resources, things that you appreciate in life. And the sextile to Jupiter and a trine to Saturn to me is also very suggestive of some kind of value shift where you're starting to maybe invest a little bit more into your spiritual well-being. Maybe you're investing a little bit more into imaginative work and completing some kind of chapter of growth that is encouraging and supportive of your mental health and your well-being. That's why I feel like there's an energy of like releasing something. For some of you, it could be about letting go of a job that's draining potentially and choosing to rest more. For some of you, it might be payment, a big payout, or paying off a debt or something like that, please let me know down below what this feels like to you. And look back at July 17th when we had the new moon in Cancer, because that would have been the inception of whatever is coming full circle right now. Lovely Cancer risings, happy full moon in your first house. This full moon sextiles Jupiter in your 11th and trines Saturn in the 9th. Full moon in the first is a completion of a chapter of personal growth, health journey, you know, your work on yourself, your self-image, your identity that would have started in mid-July when we had a new moon in Cancer. So please take a look back and tell me what kind of ideas started maybe circulating in your head around that time. A very simple example would be starting to work out, right, in mid-July, and now you start to see some muscles. Muscles! So, you know, on that level, the full moon in the first house could be a change to your look, a change to your wardrobe, a change to your health. It could also be the sextile to Jupiter in the 11th and trine to Saturn in the 9th. On one level, it feels like some important changes around your beliefs, around your vision of yourself, Saturn in the 9th house, so slowly but surely transforming and churning this energy in the sector of philosophy and your goals and your beliefs and your ideals in life, right? So, and some of your commitments, some of your personal kind of transformations can be connected to desire to go back to school, desire to travel or move, maybe desire to write, right? So you might be completing some kind of personal project that is related to getting a visa to move, or to getting book contract, or finishing your first novel or something like that. The sextile to Jupiter I quite like because it suggests supportive relationships and connections and people in your community that can be very encouraging at this time. So whatever journey you're venturing on, or the journey that you're already on, there is help, there is connections, there are, you know, supportive relationships. So lean into those, you know, build or trust that you have what it takes, trust that you have people around you that got your back, and perhaps enjoy this full moon as a chance to appreciate how far you've come and how much you've accomplished, right? And please let me know, what can you see this being about? What sort of transformed in your view of yourself and your view of reality in the last 6 months? If you are a Leo rising, there's a full moon in your 12th house, sextiles Jupiter in the 10th and a trine Saturn in the 8th. This is an interesting one. Full moons in the 12th house bring changes around self-defeating tendencies, negative beliefs, bad habits. So if you have started working on something in mid-July when we had a new moon in Cancer, you can see it coming full circle right now, right? So if you started meditating, if you started doing yoga, if you started journaling around the time of this full moon, you may start to see the positive results, right? You potentially realize that you're no longer being so self-critical, or you're no longer smoking. I don't know, that maybe you've been trying to quit smoking, right? The full moon in the 12th house could also be very much about prioritizing rest, prioritizing imaginative work, prioritizing escape. And escapes, they're healthy types of escapes, right? They're sort of, this is too unhealthy for me, I'm gonna start writing and express the frustration, or I'm gonna like let go of a frustrating job situation, I'm gonna let go of being in debt, right? The trine to Saturn in the 8th house brings questions of karmic relationships and debts and entanglements you have with other people, and this full moon could be shining light on what needs to be let go of, right? And like I said, this could very much be about a debt, an actual financial debt you have, or it could be about a tendency to live in the past, or a tendency to check up on your ex and care about what they're doing, right? So the invitation here is to focus on you. I like the sextile to Jupiter in the 10th house. I can see this as professionally fulfilling. The things you're letting go can be opening up space for you to maybe reach a new chapter in your life. So yeah, like addressing self-defeating beliefs, healing something that doesn't, maybe there is, maybe there is a sense of self-doubt when it comes to abundance, or an outdated connection where you feel obligated to stay in a job that you no longer appreciate, right? So this could be about getting in touch with those subconscious anchors and things that are holding you back. This could also be very much about getting in touch with your healing gifts and talents and your imagination, your spirituality, and perhaps turning that into a career. Or your love for foreign lands, right? Your love for travel and figuring out how you can do that for a living. Please let me know how this resonates down below. My beautiful Virgo risings, there's a full moon in your 11th house and a sextile to Jupiter in the 9th, trining Saturn in the 7th. Full moon in the 11th brings changes around friendships, changes around group projects, your dynamics with other people, your connections with other people, volunteer work, and at times completion, culmination of hopes and dreams. Wishes coming true is possible here. We did have a new moon in your 11th house in mid-July. Take a look back. Tell me what this was about. Did you start any new projects? Did you start any new friendships? Did you maybe start a social media project? So all of this could be completing, changing, right? Friendships can be transforming. There could be a sense of belonging. The trine to Saturn in the 7th house and a sextile to Jupiter in the 9th is suggestive of partnerships and relationships that are connected or come from or forward your education, your love for travel, your writing desires, and any legal matters, right? So let's say let's say you just went back to school, right? This full moon could be about your friendship circle changing. If you just started school recently, you may potentially have a different life, right? Like maybe your connections with your old friends are not as strong anymore, but you're forming new relationships. If we're talking about travel, then perhaps you're going on a trip with your friends that you've been planning. Or writing, right? This could be very much like changes around writing partnership, maybe finishing some kind of educational writing travel project with your friends. And there's a chance of romantic influence as well, because there is a trine to Saturn in the 7th. Like if you and your partner together have a dream of moving to a different destination or writing a novel or maybe going back to school together or starting some kind of teaching partnership, right? I could see this being important at this time as well. And relationships with friends that turn romantic is another possibility here. Please let me know how this resonates. How has your life changed since we had the new moon in mid-July? For my lovely Libra risings, there's a full moon in your 10th house and a sextile to Jupiter in the 8th and a trine to Saturn in the 6th. So this feels very work-oriented. Take a look back at July 17th, or just in general mid-July, when we had a new moon in Cancer. What have you been working on? What have you started professionally? If you've been in a process of looking for a job, you might find that right now. Or if you just started a new job, the full moon could be the time when you are getting recognition and celebrating professional accomplishments and feeling a sense of comfort and belonging. This is also about nurturing passions and nurturing some kind of role in the collective that is maybe motherly and supportive. A Libra rising friend has been volunteering at a dog shelter, and she's actually got a dog adopted, and she's been telling people to donate and stuff like that. So, it doesn't all have to be connected to the job. It can also be about a sense of community or a sense of recognition and fulfillment and being that supportive motherly figure that you can be with Cancer being in your 10th house. The sextile to Jupiter in the 8th is suggestive of financial abundance and financial gains and rewards. Even if you've been waiting for an inheritance or you've been waiting for some kind of business development, right? Like if you've been applying for something, this could be the time when you are getting rewarded and encouraged to keep going and keep taking professional action, right? But I could totally see this as a financial bonus, right? We are at the end of the year. Maybe you're getting some kind of exciting payment. The trine to Saturn in the 6th is once again a sense of like hard work that you've been doing, something you've been committing to. If it's a professional project that is coming full circle, if it's a health issue and you've been investing a lot of time into working out and eating better, I can also see this being, once again, you're getting some kind of rewards, right? You're getting some kind of sense of accomplishment there. And please let me know how this resonates. What do you see this being? What was happening in your life in mid-July? As a Libra rising myself, I think for me, this is very much about the planner, right? I've been working on it for most of this year, on and off, probably the most like consistently for the past 6 months. So it's definitely about, you know, giving birth to it. And I'm curious, what could it be for you? For Scorpio rising, there's a full moon in your 9th house. It sextiles Jupiter in the 7th and a trine Saturn in the 5th. How interesting and how relationship oriented is this? Or business or pleasure, right? We have the full moon in the house of education, philosophy, legal matters, travel, but it's very much the house of beliefs. And perhaps in early to mid-July, on July 17th, we had a new moon in Cancer in your 9th house. Perhaps you started questioning something, or perhaps you started working on something. But I really see this as a very, very sort of ideological full moon for you. And I like that there's aspects to the 7th and the 5th, because to me it reads as transformations in the way you see relationships and the ways you see partnerships and the ways you see business and pleasure and joy and possibly even children. So your philosophy, your ideology is changing. If you have been someone who was like, I'm going at it alone, or I'm supposed to have a stable job, you're starting to realize that no, you can do it together with somebody else. You can lean on other people. Or you don't have to have a job that is soul crushing, right? You can go for work that is more fulfilling. And the trine to Saturn in the 5th is very much that. It's very much keep going, keep persevering, keep investing into reaching fulfillment, into doing things that are pleasurable and fun and exciting. Saturn in the 5th house is also very much related to children, and Jupiter in the 7th is about relationships. So if you've been dealing with some kind of legal battle related to your child, I can see this resolving quite positively for you. If there has been matters related to education, yours or your child, this could also be coming full circle at this time. And, you know, another kind of significant question here would be if you are talking about parenthood and you're considering becoming a parent, this full moon could be a shift for deciding, you know, to become a parent or deciding not to, because very sort of romance, partnerships, children, dedicated energy. And you can substitute the word child for business or for passion project. You know, some kind of hard work on a passion project could be feeling more rewarding or coming full circle at this time. Please let me know how this resonates down below. For lovely Sagittarius risings, there's a full moon in your 8th house. It's sextiles Jupiter in the 6th, trine Saturn in the 4th. Are you paying off debts? Are you making investments into a property? Are you dealing with some kind of property taxes or something like that? So the full moon here is a completion of a cycle that started in mid-July when we had a new moon in Cancer in your 8th house. So if you have applied for a loan, or if you've started paying off a debt, if you've looked for some kind of partnership, sign a contract, this full moon could be the turning point in that, like, you know, paying off a debt, maybe letting go of a contract, maybe finalizing a relationship. The sextile to Jupiter in the 6th and trine to Saturn in the 4th feels once again very family oriented, right? Trine to Saturn in the 4th is a commitment you maybe are making or have made to selling your home or to buying a new home or moving, and this full moon in the 8th house could be the time when you get the resources you need, or you hear from the connection you've been looking to hear from, or you like pay off a mortgage. Rethinking your beliefs around health, rethinking your beliefs around work, where maybe you are starting to, change the way you view things. The full moon in the 8th could also be about breaking away from the need to work really hard, or from the need to maybe, like the trine to Saturn in the 4th house is for sure very home, family, childhood oriented. And I wonder if you're looking at your agreements with other people, at your entanglements with other people, and perhaps sorting through that family origin story and that family heavy karma, right? Like, are you entangled with your family to a point where it's unhealthy? Do you have a belief that you're not allowed to say no to a sibling who's being toxic? And of course, this could be a more positive also, right? Like, this could be about maybe forgiving a family member for something they've done and building closer relationships with them. But yeah, I can see this as for sure like shifts around finances, around debts, and debts are physical, literal debts, and debts that are more karmic and spiritual. And I'm getting a funny light on my face, so spiritual debts. I can never resist this light. It's fun. So please let me know if you're a Sagittarius rising, what can you see this being about for you? Is it about paying off a debt? Is it about family karma? What was happening in your life in mid-July? For Capricorn risings, this full moon is activating your 7th house of romantic relationships and business partnerships, and it sextiles Jupiter in the 5th, and it trines Saturn in the 3rd. So immediately, if we're talking about more professional relationships, I can see this being completion of a writing project. If you've had a writing partner, if you've had some kind of creative partner, even if you've been in a partnership with your sibling, right? There might be either you're finalizing things or you're making things official, right? Maybe you're signing a contract with a sibling, or or like finishing a writing project is a possibility here. If we're talking about romantic relationships, the sextile to Jupiter in the 5th is suggestive of taking an important step together that is turning you into a parent. Maybe you're getting pregnant. And then trine to Saturn in the 3rd is asking me like, okay, or not asking me, but telling me that perhaps you need to figure out the logistics, right? The new chapter of your relationship, or the change of your relationship, be that business or romantic, will require some adjustments. The trine to Saturn is saying that your everyday life will have to transform. The way you buy groceries will change. The way you go for your daily walks or get coffee will change. So it's a change in the sector of relationships and business partnerships that will require some attunement, but will also bring you joy and pleasure. So there might be some kind of important conversations at this time, pregnancy, birth, creative fulfillment or creative change when it comes, if you are an artist, if you are a creative individual, right? I could see this as some kind of important transformation. And of course, if you are in a relationship that feels unhappy, or if you are with someone where you don't agree about these important topics, this could be a conversation that ends a relationship. But that is more likely something you already know about, and it's not like a brand new dramatic type of change, right? It's more if you are already aware that the relationship is struggling. And please let me know how this resonates down below. If you are in Aquarius rising, there's a full moon in your 6th house. It sextiles Jupiter in the 4th and trines Saturn in the 2nd. Full moons in the 6th house could be about completing a very long and heavy work project, something you've been dedicating the last 6 months to. We did have a new moon in Cancer in mid-July, so take a look back. Have you started working on something? It could be about your health and the grind that is required to the grind that comes with exercising daily or eating healthy, taking better care of yourself, going to doctors. So the full moon here could be a sense of accomplishment and completing here, where you're getting over a health issue, or you're seeing results from working out, or you're closing work project. There might also be changes and completion of some kind of family and living situation drama or questions, right? If you've been renovating your home, for example, or if you've been looking to buy a home, if you've been, kind of finalizing anything when it comes to your mortgage or selling a home. Sixth house is anything that we sort of labor over, something that requires blood, sweat, and tears. So the full moon here is changes there. It could bring financial rewards with the trine to Saturn in the second house. It can bring positive developments related to property, real estate, and also maybe even a sense of appreciation and acknowledgement from people around you and people in your family. And please let me know how this resonates down below. What got started in your life in mid-July? Now, last but not least, if you are a Pisces rising, there's a full moon in your fifth house, sextiling Jupiter in the third, trining Saturn in the first. This is an exciting full moon. This full moon suggests a birth of something or a growth of something, but let's say a birth of something. And the birth could be literal, right? Like for some of you, if in mid-July, when we had a new moon in Cancer, you started trying to get pregnant, this full moon could be that. Or it could be about giving birth if you've been pregnant for a while, right? 9 months it takes, I hear. So if you've been pregnant for 9 months or so and you're about to give birth, this is what this is about. But the full moon in the fifth is, you are, like, once again, take a look back at mid-July. What was starting around love, around pleasure, around creativity? Have you started learning a new language? Have you started dancing? Or have you realized that your life requires more fun? And so this full moon could be a sense of like, okay, I am now aware what I need to do. I have tried a bunch of different dance classes. I know what I like. There could be a change in a romantic relationship. Once again, if you've been talking about children, maybe you come to an agreement around that. The sextile to Jupiter in the third and the trine to Saturn in the first is also very suggestive to me of you using your skills in a pleasurable, fun way. You having something to say that is putting you in the position of being both an authority with Saturn in the first house, but also you having a good time, right? So I think very much changing your life in order to find more joy, in order to find more comfort in the everyday life, in order to embrace what makes you happy is likely here. And of course, if we're talking about birth, could be a birth of a child, it could be a birth of a business, it could be a birth of your new self. Fifth house is sometimes connected to gambling a little bit. So if you've been in some kind of competition, maybe with like a friend, or if you're like part of a fantasy football league or something, this could be good results over there where you get the prize. It's also the house of exercise sometimes and like competition. So maybe you're feeling like ready to take on your competitors, or you're kind of you're finding hobbies that are fun and enjoyable, but you're also finding hobbies that keep you healthy and bring an element of exercise into your life. So it's a fun new moon. Keep in mind that the next day we have a more difficult transit, so it can be tainted a little bit by that rash, reckless, direct, blunt speech. So just be a little bit aware of the challenges that are coming up next. And thank you for listening. Thank you for being here, for supporting me. I appreciate that. Check out my website, pick up a planner if you haven't yet, and let me know if there's any questions. Have a good full moon and enjoy your holidays. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.